Hey guys, and welcome back to another Unfiltered Gamer Kickstarter board game review. Today's game off the tabletop is called Cauldron, Bubble, and Boil. Cauldron, Bubble, and Boil is for 2 to 4 players, approximately 45 to 60 minutes long, and it takes about ages 12 and up to play. Now, in the game, you're going to be a witch and you're trying to brew potions. And by brewing potions, you're going to need to select certain cards that will have potions on them. So then you need to put little ingredients into this little cauldron of yours, which you're going to get. And at the end of the game, if you have the right potion, different types of ingredients, which look like these little cubes here, you're going to put them on the card and gain the points for the victory condition. However, your opponents are going to try and stop you or change the board state with the cards as well by putting different things like corruption into your pot. So you have to be aware of that and watch out. You're trying to boil the exact potions you need. If you boil different colors that you don't need, it's not going to benefit you at the end of the game. So you're trying to secure the best types of ingredients for the potions that you make. And if you do so, you become the best witch of the year, the crowned witch. And then you win the game. Alright, well, let me show you what it looks like. Alright guys, so here we have everything included in Cauldron, Bubble, and Boil. Now we're also including the 2 expansions, the Moon deck, which is located right here, as well as the Coven roll expansion, which will include all these cards here. Not only that, but you're also going to be getting additional advanced victory condition cards, which can be added to the base game. Then you have the spell deck and or potion deck, as well as cauldrons, 1 for each player. You have 4 different types of potion ingredients that will be included that you're going to be putting into your cauldron, if possible, or as well as you're going to be getting corruption markers. Also, you're going to get these little witch hats that will signify the fact that you've created a garden. And in order to get these things here, you're going to need to create gardens with your cards here. Finally, you're going to be getting a victory point tracker right here, the rule book, as well as diablerie trackers for each player, and 2 markers that signify the track being moved along or progressed along. Included on the tracker is going to be your turn order and how you play the game, and that's pretty much what you get for the entire game. Okay, so you saw the setup of the game. Now let's talk about the turn order and how things take place. Now the first thing you can do after drawing your hand of 5 cards is you are able to play a hex. And these cards here have 3 different things that you can happen to do on them. The first thing is that it has a garden thing on the top, which shows you what you can do when you plant a garden, which I'll talk about in a moment. Then you have the spell cost and the spell effect, and on the bottom is a potion and what it requires. So the first thing you can do is play a hex card, and if to do that you need to actually spend a cost. And the first thing you do is move up a tracker based on the amount of skulls it says, as well as pay for any additional costs. And if you want to play any additional hexes after the first one, you have to actually suffer by putting in corruption to your pot. So you play 1 card and then you play a second card, it's going to put 1 of these. You play another, it's going to put 2 in. And you put another, put 3 corruption in. So be careful with how many spells you want to play on your turn. After that, you're going to harvest your gardens. Now, gardens are going to be found after you play on your first turn, which will be our next phase, so there's not much to talk about. But what you're going to do is take 1 cube or 1 different ingredient off of every single garden piece that you have on your garden, every single garden card you have on your garden, and then you're going to put that into your pot. The next thing you do is you're going to plant a garden. But to plant a garden, you need to have at least 2 cards that represent a garden, and they have to share a similar color. So for instance, here we have 2 different cards that are both yellow, so we could plant both of these on a garden. And when you do that, you're going to actually put all the yellows and oranges on here, which will be used for the second phase, which was previous, taking stuff off. After that, you're going to then go ahead and receive a recipe or put a recipe into your cauldron if you'd like. And the way you do that is you take a card from your hand and you can place it underneath your cauldron just like this. And then that will be used at the end of the game, hopefully, to gather you points. Now, be careful because if you put a garden card on the bottom and the recipe happens to not be able to be used, you could suffer some difficulty as well as the fact that you're losing a card. Finally, you're going to discard cards from your hand and draw up to 5, or you can simply draw a card. There's no maximum hand size, but you can only draw up to 5 cards if you have less than 5 cards. So you can go up to 6 if you already have 5. After that, you're going to then pass your turn, and the next player is going to play and rinse and repeat. Well, let me show you how to play the game in a couple turns. Okay, so now we've got it set up for a 2-player game. We've got our points on the point tracker, as well as our diablerie point tracker over here. And finally, our advanced victory conditions. So let's go ahead and talk about these. These are going to happen at the end of the game. You can do a bunch of different ways to actually have them. You can have up to 3 of them, I believe. You can draft them. But for us, our example is just simply going to pick 1 randomly and just put it right here. This says at the end of the game, for each recipe a player fails to create, it's going to cost them 5 victory points. So that's why I was saying you have to be careful when placing under these cauldrons, because if you can't make it, you're going to be in trouble. Okay, so now we got 5 cards for each player. We'll just go ahead and pick 1 player at random to start the game, and he can simply do a couple things. The first thing he can do is hex a player, and he could simply play any of these things he wants. And the way he does that is pretty simple. For instance, here he could spend one of these points by simply moving it up. And then he has to discard one card. So he could discard a card. And then when he does that, it says all players either have to discard a card or they gain a corruption. They have the choice of doing so. If they gain a corruption, they simply put this into their little cauldron. If not, they can discard a card from their hand. But he's not going to do that. He doesn't want to play any cards this turn. That was just an example. Instead, he's going to move on to harvesting gardens. Well, there's no gardens on the field, so he's not going to harvest anything. So what he's going to do? He's going to plant gardens. Well, to plant gardens, it's pretty simple. You select a color, and then based on that color, you're going to put cards down equal to the amount of colors you have on the cards. You want to do as big as you can. So here we got 4 cards that all have yellow in it. So we're going to actually make a garden of 4 different cards, just like that. And then after that, we're going to put all the different little tokens here on the cards. Now remember, for different players and different for each different player bases, we're going to have different amounts of ingredients in play. Right here, it's 16 for each player in a 2-player game. And we also do, I believe, we don't actually get any orange. It's only the yellow, so we wouldn't get any of this orange stuff when placing down these garden cards. Okay, so we played our garden, and now we're going to decide to record a recipe or not. So we have this one here, which is 1 yellow and 2 green, but we're going to need 2 green at the end of the game. You know what, we will. I think we can do that. We're just going to need to find green later. So we're going to put that under there, and we're going to remember that we have a 1 yellow, 2 green recipe card in there, and then we discard and draw up to 5 cards. Well, we've got no cards in hand, so we're just going to simply draw up to 5 cards. Boop. And our turn is now over. The next player's turn is going to do the same thing. Would you like to hex a player? Probably not. He can harvest, but he's got nothing, so he's just going to go ahead and plant a garden. And he's going to take these 2 right here. And there he's planted his garden. Now, in your garden, you have to have at least 2 cards to do so. You can't just have 1 green. It has to be at least 2, but it can be up to 5. And he's got 3 green, so that kind of works out. He doesn't lose out on any resources. And the next thing he's going to do is record a recipe. Well, he's got one here that has 2 green and 1 yellow, so that's probably a good one to do. And he's going to put it there. And remember that he has 2 green and 1 yellow. Finally, he can discard his hand, or discard cards in his hand and then drop to 5. Well, he likes these 2 cards, so he's just going to draw up to 5 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, and set aside. Now we'll go back to this player's turn so you can see how things work. Let's try and hex somebody first of all. What do we want to do? We will do this one. Okay, so the cost is 1 skull, so we'll move it from 1 to 2. And then we're going to minus 1 of our little ingredients from our pot. Well, we don't have any, so I believe we can get away with doing that then. And then we get to draw up to 3 cards. This card goes away and we draw up to 3 cards. Then we are going to move on from the hexing, because if we were to play another hex, it's going to cost us 1 corruption. And then if we played another one, it would cost us 2 corruptions. We have to be careful. We don't want to put these in the pots, because these will negate our ingredients at the end of the game. Okay, so we're going to move on to planting a garden. Well, we've got a lot of cards to choose from now. Well, let's get some... Oh, we need that green, but we only have 1. I guess we'll still have to wait. Let's go ahead and go for orange. Ooh, look at this. There's a lot of orange right here. And we'll put another garden down, and let's go ahead and get some orange on there. 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, and 1 more. Now be careful. This is all we have, so we have to be aware that once they run out, that's it. Okay, so we've done that. Oh, we planted. We know we're supposed to harvest first. I'm sorry, so ignore this. We're actually going to harvest first. That's pretty simple. We just take 1 ingredient off of every one of these cards. Then we put it into our pot, and we would do that for each and every garden we have, and then we can plant. Afterwards, we're going to then record a recipe into our book if we want. We have any orange and yellow ones? We got orange and green. We could put this one. We just have to remember that green's going to be relevant later. So we did that. Then we'll draw back up to our hand size. We're not going to discard anything. And put this face down. And it's the next player's turn again. And rinse and repeat, and we keep going. Okay? And that is how you take turns in the game. So turns will just continue like that, going back and forth up to 4 players until one of 4 things happens. Well, the first thing that can happen is you take this tracker here, and if you get this point tracker all the way to 30, then the round will end and the game will be over. Another aspect is if you run out of 2 colors in the game, if there's 2 colors exhausted completely, then the round will go on and then it'll be over after the round. Another way is if you simply suck up all of these guys here. And finally, the last way is if you record underneath your cauldron 7 different spell types. After you do that, you're then going to score all of the points you have as well as bonus victory conditions and see who wins the game. Let me show you about scoring. So 2 colors have been depleted, red and yellow. So now we're going to begin the scoring phase of the game. Simply move everything away that we don't need. We don't need these gardens anymore, so these can go away. We don't need our hand anymore. These can go away. Move everything up except for the tracker. And we'll keep this this specific advanced victory condition over there. Then we're going to go ahead and take everything out of our cauldrons. I already managed to take out the corruption here, as well as this one as well. Cool, there we go. Then we're going to take the cards and represent the potions here, as well as over here. And we're going to go about trying to complete our potions if we can, okay? All of these corruption here are going to take away an ingredient, so we have to remember that. Here we've got 1 orange, we have 2 yellow and a green. Yellow, red, and green, so that will work. And then over here we got 2 green and a yellow and 2 green, but no more orange, so this one doesn't get completed. And we have to also put an ingredient on each of these corruptions here. Let's put these guys. Perfect, so these are all done. Now we'll do the same for this side as well. Ooh, we got a lot of stuff going on here. There we go, there's 1. And you try and do it the best you possibly can to get as much score as you possibly can. So if I'm doing this wrong, you can probably figure that out and figure out the best way to get the most scoring on these cards here. Oh no. Red, yellow, and orange. Alright, so we got 3 that we didn't complete over here. Okay, so here we go. Now, after that, we can add all of the scores up for all these things that we've gotten here. 7, 9, 7, and 9. So 9, 18, 20, 22, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so we got 32 points over here for pink. And now we're going to do the count for this one over here as well. Well, first, oh no, wait! We've got corruption over here, and we didn't actually put all the corruption pieces on. So what we're going to do is, oh no, we're missing 2. We have to select 2. We have to select the lowest point here. So I guess we'll just take these. We'll take these 2 away, I guess. So this is actually not going to be completed as well. All right, so now we have to count the total up again. 13, 9, and 9. That's 18, 19, 21, 31 points. And we'll move this to right here. And then after that, we are going to... Okay, we did this. We did this. Now we actually have other things, like these little hats here. These each give us 3 points every single time we completed a garden. So this is 9 for this guy over here, which makes it at 41. And this guy over here, he's got 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12 points, putting him from 31 to 43. Okay, we've added all that. And also there's a handy dandy little thing here that tells you everything you need to do. Okay, also we got whoever has the highest amount of skulls, which would be this guy. He gets 5 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the lowest amount gets 10 points, so he goes to 53. Next is for each of the hats, which we did already. The least amount of corruption in a pot, which would be this player over here, so he gets 10 points. Whereas the other player, he gets 5 for the most. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ooh, the race is building. Now we look at the most amount of the ingredients in each of the pots, minus the corruption. So for green, over here we have 2, 4, 6, and then we have 4. So we're going to give pink 5 points. And then we're going to go for the most yellow, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Haha, still pink. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then how about the most red? Well, this one, he takes the cake again. And all right, now we've got the most orange, and this guy definitely gets that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, after that's all done, there's one more thing we got to do, and that's that advanced victory condition. So we see -5 for every single uncompleted potion. Oh, there's 2 over here, so that puts them at -10. Going to 59. And there's 4 here, putting him at -20. Then we check to see who has the most points, which would be pink at 59, and pink would win the game. Let me tell you a little bit about, after this is the end of the game, let me tell you a little bit about all the different variants of the game as well. Or actually, I'll have Grant do it.
Grant, I'm here to tell you about the variants of this game, the Moon Deck and the Coven Roll expansion. So, for the Moon Deck, there's 3 variants that you're going to pick one from while you're playing the game. The first one is the Lunar Month. You put the cards in order from 1 to 8, and then during the starting player's turn, they're going to draw one of these cards, and the effect's going to be in play for an entire round. For this one says, every hex you cast this turn is worth 2 victory points. If you cast 5 or more hexes this turn, you gain 3 victory points for each hex instead. So that's going to get you a lot of corruption, but also a lot of victory points. Might be worth it, maybe not. Next one says, add 2 green cubes to any garden you plant this turn. That, if you plant a red garden, you also get green cubes on it. That's an interesting change. If you plant a green garden this turn, you may also discard 1 corruption token. And then there's several other cards that I'll let you check out. Now, for the Lunar Year variant, instead of putting them in order, you shuffle them up randomly, and the cards will last for each round. The final variant, Lunacy, is exactly the same as the Lunar Year variant, except each player draws a card on their turn. In the Lunar Year and Lunacy, when they run out of cards in their deck, you shuffle them up and redeal. In the Lunar Month, you just start over with number 1. Now, moving on to the Coven Roll expansion, there's 2 modes for this one. There's the Apprentice and the Adept. In the Apprentice one, you set aside the Traitorous Witch, and then you randomly select 3 of these cards and discard them, and those ones aren't available for play in this mode. Now, you place these cards all face up in your play area. When you meet the requirement during the game, you can take that card and you'll gain a new ability. Like this one, Dark Disciple. Says every time someone other than you increases their Diablerie track by 2 or more in a turn, you gain 3 victory points. However, anytime someone decreases their score at all, you lose 2. The requirement to take this card is you have to have 6 or more on your Diablerie tracker and more than twice the lowest player's score. Now, for the Adept one, you set aside the Traitorous Witch card and you don't use it at all. Everyone gets dealt 2 random cards. They take 1 and discard the other, and you have that roll for the entire game. And you ignore the requirements in this version. And that's all. I'm out of here.
Alright, so Cauldron, Boil and Bubble, or Bubble and Boil, I should say. This game is a lot of fun. I really, really enjoy the fact that you're building your little potions that are going into this little cute thing. Oh my gosh, all this stuff in this game is awesome. This is a prototype, believe it or not, and it's got all these cool things. You got your little cauldron, you got all your player boards. Everything makes sense for what you're doing in this game. And all of the cards, they do different things, right? They have 3 different things for every card. It has your garden, it has your spell, and at the bottom here, it even has your potion, which is how you get points at the end of the game. And all of everything is used on those cards. It has variants to it, and all the variants have great artwork, and all the artwork suggests that you have different characters with different roles to do different things. You've got the Lunar Cycle, which does a whole bunch of craziness, as well as all the advanced victory conditions. You could throw everything together and make this game an insane, crazy, witchy, fun festival of a time. Yeah, really, really, really good game. And yeah, so I like it. I like it. It all flows. It all makes sense. Sometimes you're going to get cards and you're going to think, oh, this is bad now, but it could be good later. Or I've also noticed that certain times you actually want to take the bad things on the card because it's going to give you bonuses at the end of the game that you didn't think you were going to get before, especially depending on the different type of advanced victory conditions you can get. I like how it mixes it up every single time. This game has so much replayability, and it's good. It's a 4-player game that's very easy to learn, very easy to teach. Every single person that is, 8 and up, even, I think even lower than what it says, can play this game and understand how it works. You're simply just grabbing cubes, throwing cubes. I love cubes. I love cubes as much as I love dice, and this game has a lot of it, right? This game is, it works in every way. I don't have any issues with any of the components, I think the only thing it would be its drawback is its simplicity, but when you add everything together, there's just so much to it. And if I had to suggest like an expansion to it, they all work, and it all depends on what you like. It has that little additive, singular player things that you can do for yourself. Is all these different witches that do different things for you, right? But it also has those different advanced victory conditions that you need to start thinking about. And the memory in this game. So if you don't have a lot of really good memory, I think that's where you wouldn't like this game, because it does require a good amount of memory. But even still, as long as you get a variety of stuff, you're going to be okay. Even if you just have a vague idea of what is underneath your cauldron for spells, you should be okay, and the game's going to go by, and it's going to make a lot of sense. So that being said, a wonderful, wonderful game. I am going to give Cauldron, Boil, and Bubble my stamp of approval. Alright guys, thanks for watching another Unfiltered Gamer Kickstarter board game review. If you like this video and like to see more, go ahead and check out the rest of our videos here on YouTube. Like, subscribe, and comment. As well as checking out Cauldron, Bubble, and Boil. Right down here in the comment section below, you'll find out where to get the game. as well as checking out our website, unfilteredgamer.com. We got tons of board game giveaways and blog posts and a huge Kickstarter list that shows you all the new and greatest and latest Kickstarter games out there. Simply go and click. It's easier than even going and searching on Kickstarter. You can find everything there, and we have even featured content as well as checking out any of our buddies at The Board Game Geek, as well as everythingboardgames.com and Devitos Gaming. They have tons of blog posts, giveaways, and more. They're great guys, and you should definitely check out their content. They have even more than mine. Alright guys, that's it for this one, and I look forward to seeing you next time.